My name is Eleeshia Bauwise. I work for UK Sport as a Performance Pathway Officer.
My name's Arnott. I work at UK Sport as the Senior Media Manager.
So I am a qualified graphic designer. I spent 4 years did an art foundation at Chelsea College of Art, and then went and did my degree, like a BA, in graphic and media design at London College of Communication, so essentially all under the University Arts London umbrella. And then worked for the NHS for 4 years before deciding to temp for a little bit, just to kind of understand what else was out there, and came across a role in the Performance Pathway team. So it's a 6-month gig. Joined UK Sport, joined the Pathways team, and essentially fell in love with it really. And I've been there since. It's been almost 3 years. It will be in December.
So I've been working at UK Sport just over 12 months now. Prior to that, I worked for another sports organisation, an organisation called the Sport and Recreation Alliance. But prior to that, didn't work in sport, spent about 10 years working in corporate communications agencies. But throughout that time, I always had a kind of passion and interest in sport, and kind of volunteered outside of my day job. I've always loved sports since as far back as I can remember, to be honest, since I was a young kid. It's a funny one, because my mum was really sporty when she was sort of much younger, but my dad's not particularly into sport at all. But yeah, from the first chance at school I had to play organised sport or take part in PE, I've always loved it, and just sort of always been an active kid, and that's kind of carried on throughout my adult life, and kind of even now I play sport on a regular basis. So yeah, that passion's always been there, but not necessarily until more recently a part of my career and my day job.
I was always into sport as a young person, and kind of did all the things at school, was intensely competitive. I actually really felt as though I needed to win in every team that I was in, and often did. But yeah, in terms of Olympic sport, I definitely was more interested in that. I think the 2012 Olympics, which was prior to me working at UK Sport, just completely blew my mind. And I watched sports that I'd never watched before. I first started out thinking I would go down the medical field. I did biology, chemistry and physics for A-level, and art. That was the fourth one, and then decided I needed to have a gap year because I was not enjoying any of the sciences anymore, and the gap year actually became an art foundation at a really prestigious art school, and from there I kind of fell in love with that stuff. I'd always loved it, I just didn't really think of it as a career path at all. And to that notion, I suppose I didn't really think about sport as a career path. I definitely don't remember having any conversations at school about it as a path, apart from possibly as an athlete.
Certainly sort of growing up and in secondary school, and sort of chatting to the careers advisor and teachers, and kind of even to the point where you're sort of picking subjects for university, sport never really featured as a career path. Kind of at one point I wanted to be a professional sports person, possibly a rugby player, but that by this point, sort of late on in secondary school, was clearly not going to happen. So outside of being a professional sports player or athlete, a job in sort of sports administration just never really featured, and even in terms of picking subjects for university and kind of picking your A-levels to then lead to that, sport never featured. And even though there are courses or were courses that I could have done that kind of were specific to sport, that wasn't really encouraged as kind of as a degree to go after. So yeah, it didn't feature at all in my kind of secondary education, to be honest. Absolutely. Knowing what I know now, kind of 10-15 years into my career, I managed to get into sport purely through my passion for it and my determination to kind of get out there, network, meet the right people, understand more about the sector. So there's definitely a gap, or there was at least when I was at school, in terms of making young people aware of the diverse opportunities. I mean, it's huge. I mean, everything from kind of science and medicine through to what I do in communications, through to kind of business administration, finance. I mean, there's every angle of career path in sport. So it's really, there is something for everyone. If you love sport and you feel like you've got something to add, then absolutely there's a career to suit everyone within sport and sports administration.
I probably thought about it in terms of coaches and athletes. I don't think I would have had any idea of coach developers or psychologists or any of the things that actually can happen within that sphere.
To be honest, I didn't really have a perception of what it was like because it was never talked about outside of being a professional athlete. It just didn't feature. You almost kind of forgot that big professional sports clubs and other organisations involve a huge number of people working behind the scenes, normally in sports administration, in all sorts of different and interesting and exciting roles. It really didn't feature at all. So as a result, I didn't really have a perception. There was just no profile for those sorts of careers, which was a shame, really, because I'm sure lots of people that would have been really well suited to pursuing a career in sport just never did so because it wasn't put on the table as an option or a career path to pursue, which is a bit of a shame, really, knowing now what I know about kind of how much of a rewarding career it can be.